Allora, buon pomeriggio. Iniziamo con la sessione pomeridiana che rispetto alla sessione di stamattina andrà più nello specifico su strategie di gestione e controllo in particolare delle zanzare. Io sono Claudio Deliberato e lavoro all'Istituto Zooprofilattico del Lazio e della Toscana, che è stata, unità operativa del progetto CCM. I primi due relatori di oggi pomeriggio sono degli ospiti stranieri e introduco quindi il primo relatore, che è il dottor Carles Aranda. Prego, Carles, che si occupa di controllo delle zanzare per il comune, per il Mosquito Control Service of Bike Llobregat, excuse me for the terrible pronounce, by Llobregat Council, e il dottor Aranda ci parlerà del Mosquito Vector Control in Catalonia. Please, Carles.
Buon pomeriggio a tutti. Io non parlo bene l'italiano, allora la presentazione sarà in inglese. And I will first thanks all the organizers and especially Paola and Romeo for inviting me. So, okay, perfect. So we'll spend the next 30 minutes talking about mosquito vector control and also surveillance in Catalonia. You know, Catalonia is an autonomous region located in the northeast of Spain. Okay. And in Spain, we have 5 different mosquito control services, public mosquito control services. 3 of them are in Catalonia, in Girona, Barcelona, and Tarragona, in Catalonia. The other one, the biggest one, is in Huelva, in south of Andalusia. And we have another in Aragon, in Monegros. And there are plenty of different municipalities that do a mosquito control, but through private companies, like, for instance, the city of Barcelona. I'm talking about Catalonia. Catalonia is divided in 4 different provinces, Girona, Lleida, Barcelona, and Tarragona. And the 3 mosquito control services are located, one in Girona, the other in Barcelona, where I come from. This is the Baix Llobregat area. And the other is in Tarragona, which is the largest, because it's located in the Ebro Delta. In Catalonia, we are about 7.5 million people, most of them living in the province of Barcelona, and especially in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. And in the Baix Llobregat region, we are about almost 1 million people there. Well, starting by the center, by my own mosquito control service, it is a small area, no more than 300 square kilometers, but with a lot of people living there. So it's a crowded population there. We work with 25 municipalities plus a part of the port of Barcelona and the airport of Barcelona, which is located in this municipality, El Prat de Llobregat. We have different breeding sites, but mostly some marshes and ditches or channels. And we have a lot of storm drains, more than 50,000 storm drains. And if we look to the problems we have with mosquitoes, we have to face mosquitoes originated by the species Aedes caspius, also Aedes detritus, especially in salt marshes. We have a lot of problems with Culex pipiens in drains or channels that are very close to the populations and to the villages and the cities. And of course, we have Aedes albopictus breeding, as you know, in the small breeding places like pots, jars, and different kinds of containers. usually filled with water by rain, but in many occasions by the human activity. We found by the first time Aedes albopictus in 2004, myself with colleagues, and since then it invaded almost all Catalonia. As you can see here, the first time was in Sant Cugat del Vallès over there, and now almost all Girona, all Barcelona, and all Tarragona, and only some parts of on the inner lands in Lleida and also in the mountains in the Pyrenees are still free of the presence of Aedes albopictus. But we have more than 600 municipalities already infected. What we do is mostly biological control. Almost 100% of our activities are larvicides, and all of them, or almost all of them, are using biological products like Bacillus thuringiensis, as you probably know. We use terrestrial ways like cars and trucks with different equipments. And we also do a lot of treatments in this kind of storm collection waters, applying granulate of a mixture of Bacillus thuringiensis and Bacillus sphaericus. And also we have campaigns of information for the public in general, trying to explain them how to prevent to have mosquitoes at home, especially Aedes albopictus, but also cool experience. And we have our own GIS platform, and all technicians working in our service are able to enter the data through a web page, and we know in real time the places that we have to control and the situation of each different areas that we have to control. Please remark that the airport of Barcelona is in the middle of different breeding sites. And we have the population that is living in Baix Llobregat, but also the population that is traveling through the airport of Barcelona, which is located in the middle of our area. In fact, the city of Barcelona is on the other side of the Llobregat River. And in average, in a year, what we do in the Baix Llobregat is a small proportion of the treatments compared with the other areas, but we have a lot of population living there. We do about 1,700 treatments in about 200 hectares of marshes, but we treat about 150 kilometers and about 100,000 storm drains. Our budget is about less than 1 million euros. The number of inhabitants is almost 1 million, and the municipalities or institutions are 27. So if we move to the north, almost to the French border with France, we have the area of Empordà in Girona, and they have much more marshes, more than almost 2,000 hectares of marshes, and they have rice fields, 1,000 hectares. They have storm drains, but they haven't already counted how many they have. The area is a little bit bigger than ours because it's almost 500 square kilometers, but if you remark, the population is less than in Baix Llobregat because there is only 137,000 people living there, and the municipalities involved are 18. But if you see, we have similar problems, but they have huge touristical facilities very close to the breeding sites. So they have to do this very well, otherwise tourists complain for the nuisance that Aedes caspius and also Aedes detritus can cause. They have also another species, Aedes vixens, in inner parts of the Empordà, and of course also Aedes albopictus. And they control rice fields using helicopters, but always using biological products, at least in the recent years. And they have a very good program for education called Tiger Mosquito at School, and the students the young students know the biology and how to prevent to have mosquitoes at their homes. And also, in average, for a year, they treat about 600 hectares, 4,000 hectares of rice fields, about 25,000 storm drains, and the budget is similar to us, but with less people living there. And if we move to the south, to the last mosquito control service, public mosquito control service, I have to mention that I'm talking only about public mosquito control services working. We go to the border to the other autonomous community in Spain, which is Valencia, and this is the largest area, the Ebro Delta. Is more than 1,000 square kilometers, but with few inhabitants, but with the largest area to be controlled, because there are more than 7,000 hectares of marshes and 21,000 hectares of rice fields. As you can see now, they have to face Aedes aegypti problems that are located mainly around the Ebro Delta. All these are rice fields. So all these you see in green are rice fields. In gray, there are some villages over there. And in red, the areas where Aedes aegypti is present. We don't have Aedes aegypti in rice fields, mainly because the way they grow rice there. And this is how they look like. And when the rice is growing, if you know about rice fields, you know it's much more difficult to control mosquitoes because the vegetation is too dense. And they have problems with Anopheles atropargus and also some Culex species like Culex modestus. And it is impossible to control 21,000 hectares of rice fields. So, because it's so expensive that it's impossible, what they do there is to make protection belts around villages, and they treat only those areas. Like in the case of the village of Mountains, you see in red the areas treated around the village. They have to control also some ditches and Culex pipiens problems, and they do this with aircrafts. Otherwise, it will be impossible, and it's too big for helicopters. So what they do is, in average by year, the organization is called Copate, working in the Ebro Delta in Tarragona. They have to treat about 5,000 hectares of marshes, 6,000 hectares of rice fields. They do some occasional treatments in storm drains and ditches, and the budget is similar to the others, but also with less population. And for comparison, in the global data of Catalonia, we control about almost 10,000 hectares. We treat about some more than 5,000 hectares. And about rice fields, we have to control, we treat 10,000 hectares and 150 kilometers of ditches and more than 125,000 storm drains. The area covered for the municipalities is more than 2,000 square kilometers and more than 1 million people living there, involving 66 municipalities or institutions, and the budget is about 3 million. And this is about mosquito control, but we also do surveillance of mosquitoes. In Spain, there have been different projects, mainly based in scientific programs, and they had a limitation on time. It was only during few years and for different purposes. So here you can find that since the beginning of the century, there have been different programs, but I will explain now, which is the most important in Catalonia since 2014, because the local autonomous government of Catalonia decided to have a program for the surveillance of vectors in cases of arbovirosis. Almost most of them are imported, but we have also few autochthonous. So this is what I'll explain now. So in 2014, we started with the surveillance of cases of arbovirosis. At the beginning, it was for dengue, chikungunya, and Zika virus related to tiger mosquito, Aedes albopictus. But in the last years, because the presence of the virus, West Nile virus in Catalonia, related mainly in our area to cool excipients, we had also some cases in animals and in humans caused by West Nile virus. And the way that the Catalan government found to do this was, at least in the part of the entomological surveillance, because there are other parts of human health, animal health, etc. But for entomological surveillance, they asked us to the 3 different mosquito control services to be in charge of the cases in the Empordà of the province of Girona, in the Baix Llobregat of the province of Barcelona, and in Tarragona, they had to be in charge of the province of Tarragona and also Lleida. And the city of Barcelona has its own public health agency, and they do by themselves because there is a lot of people living there. So what we do is, after the notification of a case, we receive an email, and after this email, and if there is activity of the vectors, usually at the beginning of, starting at the beginning of spring and ending at the beginning of autumn, we collect information, we make the contact with the municipality, we explain the problem that they have. We do the inspection, we go to the home of the case, sometimes we talk with the people, some others they don't want. So sometimes they don't allow us to enter on their homes, but when we can, we go there, and we collect samples by aspiration and setting mosquito traps. And then we send all the samples to the IRTA CRESA, which is our research center, to identify if there is the pathogen there or in the mosquito samples or not. And then we do the entomological report with proposal of control measures, and we send this to the municipality, who is in charge of the vector control operations. We send also this information to the local government, and finally there is a report for each of every case of arbovirosis. So the inspection we do is in a radius of about 100 or 150 meters around the place where the people infected is living there. Please remember that most of the cases are imported cases. That means people that was traveling abroad that got the infection, for instance, dengue, abroad Spain, and when they came back, they found they were ill, they go to the doctor, and finally it was identified, for instance, a case of dengue. Okay, so we do the inspection in this radius, and if we are lucky in our case, if the case is in the area where we are covering, we'll know where he's living and if there are breeding sites around. We know also if they have a lot of storm drains in the place where they live. Otherwise, we have to make that complete inspection, and we look in public areas, mainly in the streets, and we ask for the private houses to enter inside. If they allow us, we enter. If not, we cannot enter there, which is a problem. And in other cases, for instance, in West Nile virus, we also look for ditches and channels and other breeding sites for mosquitoes, to different breeding sites that you can find everywhere. If we are able, we eliminate, we destroy the places where mosquitoes are breeding if they are useless, And if there is a private property, we ask to the owner to do this. And also in some cases, we do treatments like in storm drains, but in others, we ask for the municipality to do this. And in very few cases, we had to do adulticides. We read information to the population in order to inform them what they have to do to avoid to have mosquitoes at their properties, at their homes. But the best way is to go there and to explain, because if you give a brochure, maybe they can read it, but in most of the cases they don't understand what really they have to do. But if you speak with them and you show how the larvae look like, and you say, this is a larvae mosquito, and this is what will become an adult mosquito and bite you, then most of them understand what you are meaning. And we set mosquito traps, different kinds, and also we do aspirations if possible. And then we identified the species, and we send, for the cases of chikungunya, dengue, and Zika arbovirosis cases, the albopictus species, the tiger mosquito, and for a case of West Nile virus, we send all the other mosquitoes. And in Croatia, they identify the samples. And let me show you only a few data about this. If you look to this graph, you see that starting in 2014, we had different cases, mainly of dengue increasing, also some chikungunya during the outbreak of chikungunya, also of Zika during the outbreak of chikungunya, imported cases. You see there are some variations, but during the COVID period, because the lockdown, we had only one case. This is in the province of Barcelona until 2021, one case every year. But if you compare now, and this is only until the end of October, we had a lot of cases, more than before, more than 70 cases of dengue, and only dengue. And almost of those cases were people traveling to Cuba, to the island of Cuba. And in November, we are still having some more other cases. And looking through the weeks, starting in June, when we started the arbovirosis surveillance period, you see that the peak is after the end of August, because most people in Spain travel in August and they come back at the end of August. So it's when people become ill when they arrive, and then there is a sharp decrease. And finally, at the beginning of November, we don't have more cases. And in the province of Barcelona are located mostly around the places where people is living. That means the big cities and small cities, but not in the inner parts of the province. And if you compare with the rest of Catalonia, the inspections in Barcelona province, we until 2021, because I don't have the data for this year for all Catalonia, but the most interesting of this graph is that there is a correlation in the number of inspections in the province of Barcelona and in the rest of Catalonia. The correlation is very good, about 0.95. Because it's related to the number of people living in Catalonia and in the city of Barcelona and the metropolitan area. And it is also important to see the number of days that we need since we received the first notice of a case of arbovirosis by email. Since the onset of the symptoms of the people infected, there is a lot of time of delay, about 12 days. So it means that the public service lasts for at least 12 days to send information after the people had the first symptoms of the disease. Then we need about, in orange you see here, We need about 2 or 3 days to do the inspection and arrange the inspection with the municipality. And finally, we need 5 days in total from the arrival of the notice of the case. We need about 5 days to make everything and to send the report to the public health services. So it's important to improve, especially this time, because otherwise it is not really effective, the actions that we can do, because we are right too late. But it has been useful, and for the ending of this presentation, we can say that we were able to detect by first time a pool of Aedes albopictus infected with dengue in this garden, in a pool of samples. One was infected with dengue, and this was the first time we were able to identify it. We did also the first inspection in the first autochthonous case of dengue in Catalonia. There have been 2 until now, and no more cases were after this inspection. Also, we did the first West virus case inspection in horses in the same year. There were no more cases. And until now, we have been always, this is our level risk table, and we have been always in the level 2 and 3. That means that an outbreak is possible and probable, but it was just because there were, in number 2, imported cases, and in number 3, very few autochthonous cases, less than 2. And this is all I tried to explain to you, and I have to thank my colleagues from the Baix Llobregat, and also people working in IRTA Cresa and in the Agency of Public Health of the Generalitat of Catalonia. Thank you very much.
Grazie dottor Aranda. Ci sono delle domande, dei commenti riguardo questa presentazione? Vedo il dottor Bellini.
Thank you, Carlos. I just want to understand the reason why you need to do an investigation, inspection before starting with the treatment, because this seems from your information that is delaying the time of answering. So, as you say, it may reduce the effectiveness. So, we have the similar program, but we don't need to go for inspection before making the treatment, because we know that Aedes albopictus is present everywhere. So I wonder why you are planning to do this, and if you can explain a little bit.
Yeah, I understand. Well, in the places where there is a public mosquito control service, like in the Baix Llobregat, when we receive the notification of a case, we look immediately what we have done, and we check if the treatment was done properly, and if not, if we found breeding sites or adult population and so on, we go immediately. So we did treatments usually, and if we found some gap of the treatment, then we go and we do the treatment before the inspection, because we are in charge of the mosquito control. But outside our area, in our case in the Barcelona province, outside the Baix Llobregat area, is the municipality in charge of mosquito control operations. And we have to show them where they have to do, because if they have a company, the company don't know how to do it. And in most cases, they don't have a company doing, a private company doing mosquito control treatments. So we go there with a technician of the municipality. When we go there, we explain the places where they have to do this. We try to write the report immediately and send to them. And if they have problems, we explain what they have to do. But the municipality is in charge of doing this. This is the reason of this delay. And in many cases, we are there too late. We know this. And we explain every year to the responsibles of this protocol that it has to be improved. But until now, we stay in the same situation.
Ci sono altre domande per il dottor Aranda? Just a comment, also in central Italy this year we experienced the arrival of many people with dengue from Cuba. In Cuba there must have been a huge circulation of this virus this year because we had numbers never in the past, this year more than in the last few years. And a question, Dr. Aranda, you spoke about the information activity through population in the school. Who is in charge of these activities? Who is going to?
Well, it depends. I mean, there is no an organization in all Catalonia. Every municipalities have the responsibility of this. And then the 3 public mosquito control services are independent one of each other because the mosquito control services are created by different municipalities. We have 3 because on these 3 localizations in Catalonia, those 3 areas, we had traditionally mosquito problems. And the municipalities thought that the best way was to work together. But each one is independent to the other. So each one decides how to do this. And we explain to other people also, and also the Generalitat, which is the local government of Catalonia, do their own programs. So there are plenty of programs with no special relation among them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.